Welcome back. Today, we're diving into a major policy shift from the White House that could have a direct impact on your next grocery bill. On Friday, President Donald Trump announced a significant rollback of U.S. tariffs on a wide range of food products, including staples like beef, coffee, and tropical fruits. This move is a dramatic departure from the administration's long-standing America First trade policy, which has relied heavily on tariffs to encourage domestic production. The official reason? To combat persistently high consumer prices and ease the burden of inflation on American families. We'll break down exactly what was cut, why this turnaround is so significant, and what economists are saying about the real-world impact on your wallet. Stay with us. Let's start with the details of the executive order. The tariffs have been scrapped on a broad list of imported goods. We're talking about beef, coffee, tea, fruit juice, cocoa, spices, bananas, oranges, tomatoes, and certain fertilizers. For months, the administration has been under fire as inflation remains stubbornly elevated. While the overall consumer price index has cooled slightly, food prices have been a major pain point. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that the food at home index was up around 3.1% year over year as of September 2025, with certain categories seeing much sharper increases. For instance, beef and veal prices have jumped nearly 15% in the last year. The political pressure became undeniable following the recent off-year elections, where voters cited economic concerns as their top issue. This tariff rollback is widely seen as a direct response to that public outcry. President Trump himself, while defending his overall tariff strategy, conceded that the levies may, in some cases, have contributed to higher consumer prices. This is a notable shift, as the administration had previously insisted that foreign exporters, not American consumers, were bearing the cost. The opposition, primarily Democrats, were quick to call this a tacit admission of failure. Virginia Democratic Rep. Don Bayer stated that the president is finally admitting what we always knew: his tariffs are raising prices for the American people. This is a policy U-turn driven by the reality of the grocery aisle and the political calendar. Now, for the million-dollar question, will this actually bring down your grocery bill? The economic consensus is a cautious yes, but with a few important caveats. First, let's look at the products. Many of the items on the list, like coffee, bananas, and cocoa, are not produced domestically in the U.S. The original tariffs on these goods were purely punitive or revenue-generating, and they did little to spur American production. Instead, they acted as a direct tax on the importer, which was then passed on to the consumer. Removing these tariffs should, in theory, translate to lower import costs and eventually lower shelf prices. For products like beef, the impact is more complex. The tariffs, particularly those on major exporters like Brazil, contributed to the record-high beef prices we've seen. The U.S. beef market is already tight due to domestic factors like herd size and drought, but the tariffs exacerbated the issue by limiting cheaper foreign supply. Lifting the tariffs will increase the supply of imported beef, which should help to ease price pressure. However, the key word here is should. Economists warn that the effect won't be immediate or dollar for dollar. There is a lag time for the lower import costs to work their way through the supply chain, from the port to the processor to the distributor, and finally to the grocery store shelf. This process can take weeks or even months. Furthermore, the full benefit may not be passed on to the consumer. Retailers and distributors, having absorbed higher costs for months, may choose to widen their profit margins rather than immediately drop prices. The degree to which prices fall will depend on the level of competition in the retail sector. A recent analysis from the Tax Foundation estimated that the tariffs imposed earlier this year were equivalent to a massive tax hike. And while the rollback is a step in the right direction, it doesn't address the broader inflationary pressures in the economy, such as high energy costs and labor shortages. In short, this is a significant policy action that removes a direct, government-imposed cost on food imports. It's a necessary step to combat food inflation, but it is not a silver bullet. Consumers should expect to see a gradual, rather than immediate, easing of prices on the affected goods. This tariff rollback raises a larger question about the future of the administration's trade policy. The president has been a staunch advocate for tariffs, viewing them as a tool to force better trade deals and protect American industries. This latest move, however, suggests that the political cost of food inflation has become too high to ignore. It highlights the fundamental economic principle that tariffs are essentially a tax paid by domestic consumers and businesses. When applied to essential, non-domestically produced goods like coffee, the effect is purely inflationary. When applied to goods like beef, they protect domestic producers but at the expense of the consumer. The administration has clearly decided that, in the face of mounting public concern over the cost of living, The political benefit of lowering grocery prices outweighs the ideological commitment to the reciprocal tariff policy. Looking ahead, this could signal a more pragmatic approach to trade policy, at least in areas that directly affect the cost of living. It sets a precedent that the administration is willing to adjust its trade stance when it comes to consumer staples and inflation. For you, the listener, the takeaway is this: the cost of your coffee, bananas, and beef should begin to ease in the coming weeks and months. It's a welcome development, but it's important to monitor your own grocery bills to see how quickly and fully these savings are passed on. We will continue to track the economic data and the political fallout from this major policy reversal. That's all the time we have for this week's episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please reach out, and we'll talk again next week.
Yeah.